Your story may not have such a happy beginning, but that doesn't make you who you are. It is the rest of your story.
Your teenage years are very important as you develop into a person, and yet they are so difficult to navigate. I experienced the waves of euphoria and sadness across the ages of 14 to 18, gaining insights and knowledge as I went along. By no means do I have all of the answers. In fact, there are many points where I am still in the dark. Nevertheless, I am confident in my reflections on this era of life and have witnessed my perspective shift as I have moved past this time. In this development, I have realized that many of my viewpoints on the teenage experience were flawed and misguided. Within this video, I will share 3 of those areas so that hopefully you can get ahead where I was once falling behind. Specifically, I will go into detail on my improper view of high school, the constant cycle of worrying, and how I perceived time. Each section will open with how my mind was once constructed, then transition into the truth, which will hopefully provide some aid to your development. My preceding beliefs of high school were likely created in a similar manner as everyone else, movies and TV. I carry these perceptions with me through the entirety of childhood. However, in middle school, I began to conjure some new expectations. Some steep goals were set. I believed that in those 4 years, I would somehow find my life purpose and what I was passionate about. By the time I graduate, everything will have fallen into place. You could probably guess that my high school career did not materialize into this idyllic vision that I believed to be true. Unfortunately, I would not fully comprehend this until today, for my perception of high school underwent several transformations before it reached a point of clarity. On my initial arrival into the high school world, my overblown beliefs were in a way satisfied, mainly due to everyone else having similar hopes, but also in part because of the school itself. It felt as if the school challenged all of us to meet our expectations and in no way revealed the fallacy within them. Ultimately, though, as I progressed into the final years of teenage life, I came to understand the cracks within my mindset. Yet, instead of appreciating this revelation and overhauling my viewpoints, I became pessimistic. This truth burdened me for the rest of high school, worsened by the fact that I kept these conflicts private. It would take graduating and living in a post-high school life for me to shift my perspective to one of comprehension and optimism. From my newly acquired perspective, this is the purpose high school serves. You are meant to experience a demo of real life and the search for a purpose. What makes it so beneficial is that you don't have to succeed in locating this passion. Instead, look for starting points. What are you interested in? Consider the broad areas. It is not time to hone in on a specific craft. On top of that, this is your opportunity to develop yourself without the real world weighing you down. I would like to conclude this section by demystifying a commonly believed purpose of high school, that it teaches you to enjoy being alive. As I've stated already, you are not meant to find your passion in this 4-year time block. In addition, it's laughable to think you will fully understand yourself by the end of this period. I believe these 2 factors of life are vital to truly enjoy living out your days. Therefore, if you do not know who you are and have not yet discovered your passions, how does high school teach you to enjoy living? Simply put, learning this secret is meant for the future. It is almost unfair to put this expectation on such a short window of time. If you currently connect with my former perspective on high school, use these words as a sign to erase these prospects, and with them, any negative feelings that are associated. Is it justified to simply say, everybody worries in high school, you just have to deal with it? Absolutely not, in my opinion. Let's talk about why. Like most, I was haunted by the never-ending loop of anxiety generated by the high school experience. Every night before a test was brimming with uneasiness. The end of every marking period was met with tension in anticipation of seeing academic results. Above all those worries loomed the largest and most malevolent, applying for college, which produced more dread as the deadline grew closer. Beyond school, there were just as many nerves whenever I thought about my appearance, reputation, and other aspects of my social life. Borrowing from the previous section, I had believed finding myself and my passions was crucial to succeeding in high school, and thought enduring this unhealthy cycle of dread was the only path to resolution. It took graduating and time removed from this wheel of nerves to understand that all the worrying I tolerated could have been mostly avoided. I want to share these insights to help you remove yourself from this cycle. First, trying to make yourself believe that school doesn't matter to generate apathy and thus remove worry is a losing battle. While we do inflate the significance of school, I still consider it important for our lives to an extent. Instead, I want to focus on the worrying component, so allow me to ask you a question. What are you actually worrying about? When I asked myself this, the gears in my head began turning, and I concluded where my doubts had originated: the fear of failure. It was a long, invisible, and crushing chain of events woven together by fear. If I fail this test, my grades will drop. And if my grades drop, my chances of getting into a good college will decrease. In order to quiet this dread, take this approach. First, admit you are fearful of failure. Once you accept this truth, a solution will emerge, if you have enough humility. Practice learning and acquiring value from your mistakes. Over time, you will begin to appreciate failing for the profound lessons it can present. If you want to learn more about overcoming the fear of failure, I have a separate video on this topic, which I will link in the description. Now, between here and TikTok, I've talked extensively about changing your mindset on appearance, reputation, and the opinions of others. However, I will provide advice here as well. Let me repeat this fact. Most people do not pay attention to you and do not care. Use that knowledge positively. For the people who might have an opinion on you, it is likely created from a skeletal understanding of your identity. Do not value their opinion if they are only aware of a few facts about you. Will following this advice permanently erase worry? Of course not. But practicing these methods can ease some of that distress in high school. Moreover, learning from failure is a skill that will aid you much farther into your life, so understanding it now will be an added bonus. For the final section, I want to explain my flawed perception of life as a teen on a broader scale. Hopefully, hearing this will guide you in the right direction if you are currently falling down this path as well. Simply put, I took my teenage years way too seriously. I viewed the 4 years of high school with so much finality that it was overwhelming. For reasons I haven't yet understood, I put this notion in my head that everything was on the line. This unneeded seriousness resulted in several consequences. I developed a twisted view of maturing and began behaving as if I was already an adult, though I lacked any real development. I believed that if I didn't accomplish certain things or take chances, I would be doomed for the rest of my life, which is ironic, considering I rarely ever took risks. Overall, I thought that the teenage years were the make or break period of our lives, where our entire future would be shaped. Then, I graduated and understood life is just beginning. Rather than dive into each specific issue, I want to offer some advice that applies to everything I discussed. If you are struggling with a similar perspective on life, know this: there is so much time. Yes, we all have a finite amount of time here before we die, but putting too much finality on your teenage years will surely cost you a lot of happiness. One might argue that your teenage years are significant because of your youth, and rightfully so. With that said, why take this time so seriously? Enjoy the youth. There will be time to chase huge goals and develop into a whole person. For now though, you are meant to simply discover what life has to offer. I wish I knew that my teenage years weren't meant to be serious, but if I can help you with that today, then I'm glad I learned this lesson.
Ow! Jeez, what was that for?
It doesn't matter. It's in the past.
Yeah, but it still hurts.
Oh, yes, the past can hurt. But the way I see it, you can either run from it or learn from it.
This is a reminder to have fun being a kid. We all get caught up too much in working hard for future success. Dedicate time solely for the purpose of having fun. Also, even if you do not enjoy the teenage experience, I would not recommend wishing your years away. There are great moments waiting in adulthood, but that does not justify being unappreciative of the present moment. Do your best to make the most out of today. Tomorrow will eventually come. That is about all I have for now on this topic. If you are interested in another part of this discussion, let me know. I think I have more to say. Of course, feel free to leave any thoughts or suggestions in the comments. As always, this has been Dark Horse, and I will see you in the next video.